What is going on, guys? Jeff back here for part number 3 of the Excelsior hood build. Parts 1 and 2 are already up on the channel right now, so if you have not seen those, go back and watch those so you know exactly what's going on here. We're picking right up where part 2 left off, and man, I'm excited because this hood is really starting to take shape. So part 3 is going to be a good one because now we're really going to start to see the design that we had in our mind start to come out in real life in this thing, and it is looking good so far. Last time when we left off in part 2, you'll remember I put the big strips of fiberglass on the sides there so we could get into starting to detail our new body line that connects from the front bumper just in front of the headlight all the way up to the sides of the vents, as well as this front section right here where we're going to add a slight raise just in front of the vent there for just a little bit of an extra exaggeration on those vents. So taking a look at the hood, you can see that I have gone ahead and applied the fiberglass to the front section just in front of the main center vent. Just as I said at the end of part 2, that would be applied by the time part 3 started, so there it is. I actually did 5 layers of fiberglass right here on the front section, whereas I did 4 on the vent section, the side vent sections. I wanted a little bit of extra thickness, so I threw an extra layer on there, and I got a really nice amount of thickness. As you can see there, it's just over 1/4 inch, maybe just approaching a 1/2 inch of thickness, which is going to be fantastic for me to go ahead and throw in my beveling over the top that I want and any extra details that I want to put in here. I have sufficient amount of thickness to be able to do that. So as we left off last time, you guys will remember I just put these on, these big side strips here that we're going to carve into our new body line that leads from the front bumper right here in front of the headlight all the way up, following the side of the vents there on the side. It's going to create a nice little raised detail, as well as this front section in front of the vents. We're also going to be carving this into a nice little raised detail in the front. That's all going to be in unison with all this section as well. That will be sanded down to the nice bevel we put in this section right here as well. So it's really starting to take shape. And while I was waiting for this center section to cure up, there wasn't really much else I could do while I was waiting for that, so I could not help myself but start the sanding process on this side over here, and I'm going to show you that right now. I'm very excited. So I'm fully aware that this is going to be a little bit difficult to see this because of the different colors that are on it and the dust and all that. It's going to be difficult to actually see this body line the way that it's intended, but if I kind of lean down here just a little bit, you can see right here, this is where the front bumper, approximately the raise in the front bumper, attaches right here. I took this section that dips down and I brought it up and created a brand new raised line that follows the side of the vent, as you can see there, just like that. So I sanded down that strip to blend seamlessly with the outer edge of the hood, and then I beveled it up just like that and created that nice little raised section, and then took that line on the outside and brought it all the way down to where that crease ends right there. And then we added about a 1/2 inch of the thickness that's going to match the raised section on the front bumper, and then I went ahead and created the inner part of the new body line right here, which beautifully follows just around my hood pin right there, and then comes up and raises up just here where there is now a new raised section in front of the vent. If I move to the back section here and zoom up just a little bit, you can see this extra thickness right here. It's again about a 1/4 inch of extra thickness, whereas this vent was typically very flat. You can see this dark section is where it used to be, and then it was just very flat, and now it's all nicely raised up a 1/4 inch, and then this dips down just like that. Again, I know it's very hard for you guys to see that on camera, but you can see this body line that I carved in here that just flows beautifully from this nice angled shape right there. As I step back just a little bit more, you can see how that's going to be so nice, playing right off of the front bumper all the way in, straight back, all along the sides of the vents there. Nice raised, brand new body line. And then this is really slick how this turned out as well, how the inner part of this body line comes up and then makes that really nice little curve into that raised section and then dips back down like that. And of course this will all be blended seamlessly into the front as well and play into this curve right here too. It's a very subtle type of a change, but at the same time it has a massive effect on the overall presence of the hood, of the style of the hood. It's just that little extra 1/4 inch of thickness around the edge of the vent adds so much more aggressiveness to it, so much more presence to the vent, and especially once it's primered and painted and everything comes together and all the lines are just slightly softened and everything, you're not even going to be able to tell that it was once a top secret style hood. It's going to be that fresh. As I had mentioned in the last video, my goal for the hood was never to go so crazy that it would have like huge, like huge lines and all that. I wanted to keep it still very elegant, because the rest of the kit has a very elegant type of vibe to it. A lot of aggressiveness, of course, but still an elegant aggressiveness, if that makes any sense. And the same thing had to be true for the hood as well. So I wanted to definitely put enough build up so that you could see the new body lines, the new designs, the new shaping of the vents and stuff like that, but at the same time not so crazy that it looked like something like maybe the MCR hood, which is a great hood. I love the MCR hood, but there's just a little bit too aggressive with the sharpness of the lines, and a little bit too much width in a lot of the design details in that particular hood. I did consider actually getting that hood for this kit and using that as a base, but then I would have to be working backwards to kind of deconstruct that hood into what I wanted. So this worked out to be a much better in my favor, where I can just add that slight amount of extra detailing that I wanted and not go too crazy at the same time. And it's turning out great. I know some of you may not agree. Some may think that I need to go even more extreme than this, but I think it's going to work perfectly well in the end. So again, I know that you can't really see it that well, but trust me, once we have the primer on it, it's all going to make sense. I hope you guys like it so far. For now, let's go ahead and start getting into the process of sanding the center section and the side section. I think I'm going to go ahead and start doing the side section first to match that up, just so that we have both sides done, and then we'll go in and tackle this section. So at this point, it's just sanding, 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 shaping, shaping, shaping. And this is probably, again, as I said in the last video, my favorite part and my least favorite part at the same time, because I mean it is just insane with the amount of dust and fiberglass and all that. I'm all covered up, got my mask ready to go and all that. So this is key to protect yourself when you're doing this level of sanding. Okay, we're making good progress here. I've got a lot of this outer edge sanded down, and we're now starting to develop our little ridge on the outside of the vents there. I've also started working down in through the front right here to establish this really nice angle that it's going to have all the way up through here. Still have a lot of thickness to remove in this area and throughout right here. This all needs to come off right here next to the hood pin, and all this needs to be shaved down as well. But we're at the point now where I really need to start finding my exact lines to be symmetrical with the other side. You can see that I took a measurement and just took a pencil line and measured the exact thickness that I need for what the other side is, what I sanded into the other side. It's about a 1/2 inch of thickness there that the wall is going to consist of there on the other side. But this is another great example of one of those opportunities to use the template method that I showed you in the last video, and that is using the packing tape. Whenever you have two sections of a project like this that need to be symmetrical, it's a great opportunity to use the clear packing tape. So this is the new body line that I put in. You can see these are the new raised lines that are now a part of the design of the hood. So what I did is I laid up about 5 or 6 layers of packing tape just up to about here. I didn't need to do the whole thing because I already know it's about a 1/2 inch all the way back to the rear. So I just went up to about here, laid about 5 or 6 layers of the tape down, and took my Sharpie marker and I copied those lines exactly. Now what I'm going to be able to do is pull this off, flip it over to this side, match up those similar points of reference right here. That's going to be my main point because it's the same on the hood on both sides. I'm going to lay up that tape on this side, and then I'm going to trace exactly where the tape comes up to, and that's going to give me the exact same line, the exact same shape on this side as on this side. So I just peeled my tape template off and I made all my cuts necessary, cut out the shape, and I'll now be able to use the outer edge of the hood to lay it up exactly where it would be on the other side. So I flip it around and I lay it up so I know that this is going to be here, and the hood is obviously, the base hood is the same on both sides, so I just use the outer edge to get it in the accurate position right there, just like that. And now you can see my Sharpie lines marking up just right there. I'll just mark all where those lines are right there where they're cut. That's looking perfect, just like I thought. 1/2 inch, look at that, boom. I'll just mark that up, Okay, and now we have our line traced out perfectly. The template fulfilled its purpose beautifully, and I have now got my Sharpie lines exactly where I need to sand. So if I look down here, you can see I still got a little bit more to sand up here. I'll just need to continue sanding perfectly up to that Sharpie line on both sides. Of course, like I said, all this will need to come out right up to that line as well. And same thing right back here. I know all of this needs to be removed, and we need to bevel this up right there where that line comes across there, and all this will continue to need to be removed until it is perfectly shaped into the wall as it is on this side, just like that. So great example of how that very simple template can give you perfect or near perfect symmetry on both sides. You never want to just eyeball it on stuff like this unless you absolutely have no other choice, but this is the way, taking templates and things like that, this is the way you take a piece from looking amateurish when it's finished to something more on the pro level. Alright guys, we've made great progress. I do want to apologize real quick if you hear any big loud bangs or booms in the background. It is the 4th of July currently, and I have people in my neighborhood popping off with fireworks like crazy right now, so do excuse that. But we made great progress with the shaping here. As you can see, I've got my new body line set in right there on the driver's side now, just as it is on the passenger side. As you can see here, I've also went ahead and sanded down our section just in front of the new main vent here, so we are all super smooth, and we're at the step now where we're going to go ahead and apply the body filler along all this new shaped design in the fiberglass, just as I did on this side. So you can see I've already applied all the filler and everything to make sure all my lines are straight, everything is nice and clean. So we're going to do the exact same thing on this side and also apply filler along the front section, especially this top edge right here. We'll need to clean up very carefully so that it looks nice. We want this bevel right here coming off the side to follow beautifully alongside the front section as well. So we're going to pay very special close attention to that area right there and make sure all the lines are nice and crisp and clean and everything looks good. But we have a beautiful, now again, I wish you guys could feel this for yourselves, but it is a beautiful shape as this comes up with the 5 layers of fiberglass, almost about a ½ inch of extra thickness there that we've added, and it just bevels down beautifully onto the original hood right here. So this will all be blended with filler just to make sure that it is a seamless blend all the way down from the top to the base. And we're going to be doing the same all along the sides as well, just so that everything is blended very seamlessly. It's going to come together just perfectly. I'm so excited. So let's start getting filler on this thing. As I said in the last video, before you apply filler, make sure you dust it off very well. Look very closely. Make sure you're getting all of the little air pockets drilled out, and make sure there's no dust hiding in any of the little pinholes, and then go in and apply your filler and you should be good to go. So let's get to it. Alright guys, we are looking awesome here. We've got the driver's side here now shaped, everything sanded down, and the filler applied. So I've got all my lines nice and crisp and clean, exactly the way I want it. I got all my widths and everything dialed in. Also made a little bit more of an effort to go ahead and fill any little pinholes that were hiding along the inside edges of the vents right there. It's all those little bitty areas, the little crevices and things like that where little imperfections like to hide. Especially when you've been doing fiberglass and filler work and stuff like that, you really got to take a close eye and make sure you're looking in all the little crevices, all those little areas, just to see if you can find any little imperfections that are going to want to bother you when you get into primer and paint, and dial that in right now. So I went ahead and did that too, so we are looking awesome. Now take a look at the front section right here too. We got all of our filler work done on the front section too. This is feeling absolutely phenomenal, guys. And again, I don't know if the camera picks it up very well, but if we go down here to this angle right here, you can see just how beautifully that picks up all the way around the radius of that front section right there. And if we look from the back here, we can see that really nice bevel that just follows straight from the inner part all the way around the front section as well. We have a nice chunky ½ inch of thickness there, so it definitely looks legit at this point. We don't have a little thin piece of composite there. It looks like a nice chunky vent now, which is exactly what I was going for. And man, we are looking awesome all the way across. So we have essentially our final shape for the upper side of the hood. There's one other thing that I'm going to tell you guys about in a bit that I have decided to add to this, But at this point, we're essentially done. We are 95% done with the overall shape of this hood. Now we do still have quite a bit of work yet to do. We have to actually end up putting the front bumper on the car just so we can match up these points right here, because as they are right now, I'm almost certain that they're not going to 100% match, because I just kind of eyeballed it. I didn't actually have the bumper on the car when I was shaping these areas in here in the front that match up to the front bumper. So of course, I'm assuming that it's going to be off a little bit, particularly on the intersection right here. I think it doesn't quite come out this far on the bumper, but I've actually decided that I like the shape of the way I did it on the hood so much that if there is any difference, and again I'm assuming that there will be, I'm actually going to make the adjustment on the bumper and not the hood. I'm going to put the bumper on, and any differences that I see, I'm going to match the line on the bumper to match up these new body lines that I put into the hood. I just like the way that they came out on the hood so much, and I think it would serve me a lot better to adjust the front bumper, these sections right here. This line, I might need to bring this up a little bit more. If I look at it from this angle, I might need to bring this line up like that in order to match the line on the hood, but I think that's going to be a lot better than trying to put the bumper on and then shave the hood back down. I think it just looks so good on the hood that I'm going to go ahead and change the bumper itself instead of the hood. And then other than that, we have a lot of refinements still left to do. We of course got to go back over with a spot putty and fill any little remaining pinholes, smooth out any little imperfections in the filler, anything like that. We're going to go over with one more top coat of glazing spot putty to make sure that we have everything nice and smooth and crisp. And then of course we got to go under the hood. This is very, very critical. Got to go under the hood and take care of all of our work that we're going to be doing under the hood. Now this is the first time you guys are seeing what it looks like underneath since we've started the project, and you can see this giant section that I had to cut out here from the bottom of this hood. And in doing that, of course, that took out a lot of the structural rigidity in this hood. So we definitely want to make sure that we are reinforcing this hood from the underneath. We can't just do all this work on the top and then call it a day and leave it the way it is. We have to come back under here and re-strengthen this so that this will be just as strong a hood as it was. Now if we take a look under here, I will tell you exactly what we need to do. Of course you can still see our clay is still in there that we used to create the inner walls of the center vent. That of course will need to come out of there. You can also see right here, this fiberglass piece will need to be trimmed down to where we had sculpted the clay. So this is all extra that does not need to be there. It's the same on both sides. As you can see, that extra little bit of fiberglass will need to be trimmed down. And then we can see where all of this right here will need to be trimmed away, probably about 3/4 of an inch worth of this inner side section of the vent here. And then we're going to fiberglass this back to the side walls and this upper piece right here. So we're essentially going to be doing a reverse of what we did on the top. We're going to take the clay out, cut this fiberglass down so that we're just mating up directly with the new fiberglass walls we made. Then we're just going to fiberglass from this section up to the side and over the top here just a little bit, just to put all that strength back in that area from the underside. It's critical that we do that. And back there as well, I may put some fiberglass back there too, just to seal up that area that got cut back there. I'll probably just lay some fiberglass to seal that up so that it's really strong and rigid back there too. Now I had mentioned that there was one other thing that I decided to add to this design on this hood, and that is a centerpiece that's going to go right here, and it's going to come back something kind of triangular like this, and it's going to be just like that. And what that's going to do is that's going to convert this main vent right here from a one-piece to a two-piece vent. In other words, you'll have two vents right here separated by a center divider that's going to go right here. And you do see that kind of thing on GT hoods of this type, and I wasn't initially going to go for it. I kind of wanted the open look like that, inspired by some of those gnarly looking hoods that you see on the NSX that come down. I like that big gaping vent like that, but I decided that because the rest of my kit has such a design that it would really cater, especially I was thinking about this vent right here on the rear bumper right there. That right there was the deciding factor when I was looking at this hood, and I was looking at it, I said, man, it looks really good the way it is, but in keeping with the design and the design language of the rest of the kit, especially that right there, I thought, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and throw one of those in. Now it's not going to be too crazy, too exaggerated, but I do think that would lend itself a little bit better to the samurai armor slash Japanese mecha type of design aesthetic that I'm going for with this car. So I have decided I am going to do that. Now it's not going to be too hard to fabricate that little centerpiece right there. Again, it's not going to be too crazy or too big, too exaggerated. It's maybe just going to come back to, you know, maybe this halfway point right there. And it's not going to be super huge and super thick or anything. It's going to be something fairly low profile, but I'll figure it out. I haven't even decided on the actual shape or design of it just yet, but I have decided I am going to add that. So I'm going to go ahead and sand down this section right here, and I'm going to actually get started on that right away. And I'm going to use the clay to do my shaping, but I got to sand this down first and get it ready for fiberglass. Alright guys, I've gone ahead and got our base shape for the center section sculpted in with the clay right there. This is what I've decided on shape-wise after thinking about it for a little while. I didn't spend too much time thinking about the design itself because I didn't want it to be too crazy. It wasn't going to be real detailed, but this is what I settled on. I think it looks awesome. So we have a nice tapering in towards about this section, not quite back half, but just about 1/3 of the way or so back toward the rear of the hood, and then it tapers from that thinner point all the way up to a thicker point that's about 2 inches wide at the base. Now you'll notice that I made good use of my laser level right here to put that line. I don't know if you guys can pick it up on the camera, but you can see there's a laser line that is following the center line of the hood that was previously established when we started the project. And I had that on the whole time as I was sculpting here, and that really helped me to dial it in right in the correct position, and also to get both sides symmetrical as I'm sculpting that with my hands. Now your fingers, whenever you're using clay, are going to be your best tool, obviously, but as far as other tools, I do use something like this to do like scraping to remove excess material, or to straighten up lines. I have another shape one like that, and then I use this quite a bit. It's just a flat edge plastic kind of mini spatula looking thing that I do to get real fine details. And then I actually use this little scrap piece of EVA foam to smooth it. So once the clay heats up a little bit and it's malleable, you can use that EVA foam with light pressure to really smooth it out and shape it a little bit more. That should be plenty for whatever you're trying to do. Now the thing to note with clay is whenever you're doing a plug in clay like this, which I have done for literally every other piece of this kit so far, I use the clay all the time, as I've said before. But the thing to know is that you're not really shooting to put all of the detail in your design in with the clay. You're really only aiming to get your base shape and your size. It's okay to put a little bit of detail in there, but you got to keep in mind that once you fiberglass the clay, it's going to cover up all your little fine details that you put in there. So don't bother putting really fine small details in when you're sculpting up your plug. Just focus on getting your base shape. Larger details are okay, and your size, and that's really the main thing that you need to focus on, because once you fiberglass it, it's the refinement stage in the fiberglass that you're going to really start putting all those fine details in. Don't waste time trying to put them in the clay, because you're going to lose them anyways when you fiberglass. So I'm at the point now where I can go ahead and actually apply some fiberglass to this piece. It is ready to go. You can see I've already sanded around it, so that's ready to take fiberglass directly on the carbon fiber hood there. And then after that, we're going to be doing the same procedure as everything else. We'll put the body filler on to just make sure that the design is set correctly, all the lines are shaped correctly, and we get the proper sizing and all that. It's going to connect just under this top section. I didn't bring it up over the top, as you can see there. I actually put it so that it connects to the bottom layer there, and I thought that looked really cool from the side there as it kind of goes down, as opposed to just kind of coming up to the top. So we're going to try that out. If I don't like it, I can just add a little extra fiberglass in the refinement stage and bring it up here, and then we can go that route. But I think it looks great the way it is. It's going to look way better in fiberglass than it does in clay, obviously. The clay is always kind of messy looking, but I think it looks dope. Honestly, I think that the hood doesn't need it necessarily, but I think it's just going to be enough to really set this hood off and just differentiate it from the original Top Secret hood even more. So this is looking cool. I'm excited about it. So that's where I'm going to wrap up part 3 of this series. I will have part 4 up as soon as possible. I'm going to start filming this, get glass on this, and start filming it right away. So I'll have part 4 up for you guys hopefully within the next week here, and we are getting very close. The only other things that we need to do after refining the center section there is just all the under the hood work and our final glaze over the top with a spot putty, a glaze putty, and then we'll resand all that, which takes a quarter of the time it takes to sand regular filler, so that won't take a real long time. And then of course we do need to put the front bumper on to make sure that we're getting the front pieces right here in the proper positions. And again, I'm going to be doing that on the front bumper and not modifying the hood. The hood is pretty much set where it's at right now, so if any changes do need to be made, they're going to be made to the front bumper, but that will be off camera. I will show you guys that after that's all done. That's going to be it for part number 3, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Feel free to leave a comment in the comment section below. If you have any questions or any comments about the car or whatever, please leave them below. I'd be happy to answer them as quickly as I can. Appreciate you guys watching. Feel free to subscribe if you're not already. I would appreciate that. It helps me out. And if you like this car, you like this kind of work, I'm going to be updating a lot more like this. I'm really enjoying this build series here, actually. So I'm planning on doing this a lot more often with whatever else comes in the near future. But I just like hanging out with you guys, like showing you what I'm doing. So feel free to subscribe, and we all win. Thank you guys. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.